In this video, we are going to be taking a close examination of the trailer for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. When this came onto my radar, I was really impressed with how good this animation looked. I decided to do some deeper research into this, and I found that what we have here is actually some seriously well-crafted animation that we can learn from. Sony have made a fresh revival of the classic story we all know. It combines new innovations with callbacks to classic comic book style it's originated from. I'm going to approach this analysis of the trailer material from 4 angles: the medium, the animation, the design, and the directing. So here's our fact number 1. The CGI animation for the film was combined with line work and painting and dots of all sorts of comic book techniques to make it look like it was created by hand. They remade their production pipeline from the ground up to create a style which is really unique. They've also approached the production process slightly differently for the different characters, which kind of come from different styles. Like with this character, it's got a noir style to it, so they've taken out the color. This character's from Japan, so they've given it more of an anime style. When we slow down the footage, we can see that the animators have effectively put the 3D animation on 2s. It makes it look a lot more like 2D animation, as 2D animation is often done on 2s. 3D rigs usually automatically create in-betweens to smooth out the movement unless you set it to stepped keyframes like they've done here. The great thing about having this reduced frame rate is that it makes the movements, at least to my eyes, look a lot more snappy and interesting, and the poses become more pronounced, and it's giving it a more graphic, handmade style. They didn't just put all of the animation on 2s indiscriminately either. In this shot of Miles jumping off the crane, we can see that the whole thing is kept on 1s because the smooth feeling of 1s is appropriate for that kind of graceful movement. In 2D frame-by-frame animation, one way that animators compensate for working on 2s or 3s is by adding motion blurs. This smooths out the movement and makes it look less choppy, and it also creates an aesthetic that I personally love. This was just really cool to see slowed down actually. In traditional animation you have multiples where something's moving fast, you draw it multiple times in the same frame. They're actually doing that here, and they're actually hand drawing over the top of this animation with this white pen. These really nice multiples on each frame, and when it's sped up it just looks brilliant. You don't really notice it that well, but I think it adds a lot. When the symbols crash, having these illustrated lines, brilliant. Fact number 2. During the initial development, the directors worked with a single animator to establish the look of the film. It took around a year for the production team to create 10 seconds of footage that they were happy with, and then animation work on the film developed from there. The number had reached 142 animators by August 2018 when it was getting closer to their deadline, and that's the largest animation crew that Sony Pictures Imageworks had ever used for a film. Just in the trailer alone, there is so much cool stuff going on in the animation for us to admire. I had to analyze this scene because it's just a great example of visual comedy, and it's just really well directed, this. So let me just play for you what it is and then we'll analyze it. Okay, let's play it one more time. This is completely in the visuals that they've made this joke. He obviously is alerted to this car, and what happens? Everyone stays in place. He's toasting like this, It's funny already in the first frame. Mary Jane sees the car and just moves back just a little bit. She doesn't freak out, she just, great, really funny. And he knows it's coming, so he puts down the champagne glass. He puts it down. And just in a single move, he puts his foot out. Like, it's so routine to him by this point. In a single movement, and then he brings his fist up, the car smashes through. Now this part is really interesting because they bend the rules of realistic animation in this scene to increase the humour. It's deliberate. So then in a single punch, he just punches the car roof and the car flies back out the window exactly the same way it came. It enters and exits straight away afterwards in a single punch. The fact that it does just go straight back out the way it came is so hilarious. I think that's genius. That's really well-made comedy, delivered in a second, maybe 2 seconds. This never actually occurred to me, but you know, when you're hanging on one point of contact, from one chord, if you're not very good at it, then your body would naturally maybe swing around. So that's what they've done here. And you know, having his arms and legs outstretched and seeing that as he's going along, it's just a really inventive way to animate it, and one that I hadn't thought of before. Oh yeah, this is great. So now we've got this new character, which is Gwen Stacy. How can we just show the different personality just in the animation, just in the way it moves? That is the challenge, and they've knocked it out of the park once again. Did you see that? Let's have a look at that again. Let's just have a look. Whew. Obviously the pose is brilliant with the feet, the precision. It's very, very neat. He clumsily sort of bounces to the ground. Well, she has no bounce, you know, it's all taken out. It's just perfectly controlled down. And again, more personality on this takeoff from her. Very neat, almost symmetrical, and then into a neat little front flip. So for each of these Spider-Man characters in the film, they each sort of do their takeoff and their acrobatics in a slightly different way, which is kind of characteristic of that character. With this one, I'm sure I've seen this kind of animation before in like base jumping, so I think that's where they've got their inspiration from. But it's so cool as well. So he's making this Spider-Man hand signal, and it looks kind of laid back, which is his character. You know, he's experienced, he's used to doing this within his character. And also this really appealing movement of, so the first knee comes up and round, the leg follows up and round, and then the next knee, and this one, it just looks great. And he maintains eye contact with us for a period of time. So Peter Porker is perhaps the most traditionally animated looking character. It looks like he's traditionally animated. I mean, you even have him doing a sort of 90-degree profile view walk cycle, just like you'd see in traditional animation. Look at how he greets them. Okay, have a look at what he does with his hand. You usually start with the core of the body, and then it kind of ripples outwards towards the ends of the limbs, and that looks very natural. It has a certain elegance to it. It's really interesting to see him lead with the hands. The hand comes forward first, and then the body follows. Let's have a look. See, and it arcs, so it goes down and then up like that, and the body follows that movement. It just makes it very, very unique, very quirky, and funny as well. It's got a lot of humour to it. And then with his other hand, he rests. That hand comes to rest on his hip. He's just so confident. He's a little pig, and he's so confident, and that's funny. It's really humorous. Just shown in the animation. So now onto the design. They've consistently used a visual effect known as chromatic aberration. Essentially, this displaces the RGB colours around the edges of an image to give it this cool neon distortion. It really makes things pop out and look so vibrant. The effect of this is that they've enabled them to work in these little neon outlines into everything. This kind of fun visual aesthetic is different from what I've seen in almost every other animated movie. I haven't seen anyone else try this. I think this shot is extremely well designed. We want to really quickly show Spider-Man fighting loads of crime and him getting bored of it. So how can we do that extremely fast for the trailer? Well, I can't think of a way they could have done it that's better than this. So they've got this comic strip. It's a spider's web, right? And with each segment of this spider's web is a comic strip panel, an animated comic strip panel. So they start with this one and then they fill them in one by one. So we've got a little bit of action here. We've got him kicking a bad guy in the face. We've got one in him doing his Spider-Man pose in the alleyway. You know, and it goes through them. We got a different little piece of action on each one. This is a great, creative, well-designed way to montage something. It's in the theme of Spider-Man because it's a web, and it's like a comic books theme as well, and it shows the story. By the end of it, he's kind of not having a good time. He's getting squashed and everything, and then we have the last shot with him looking kind of, you know, tired of this stuff happening. So we've gone through, and that took, let me play it for you to just show you how fast this was. And then we had an additional bit of voiceover as well, but that's how fast it was. Very quick, well-designed, entertaining storytelling. Brilliant. I think it's brilliant. We can see that they've worked these classic comic book dot textures and line textures even into the faces, and the highlights on the face even contain these textures in them. I don't even know how they were able to do that. It's really impressive, and it's no wonder that they spent so long on pre-production to really perfect this style that they have invented. Exaggeration and shapes. Before we even look at the characters, just have a look at the city itself. It's an exaggerated version of a New York style metropolis, as if the city itself is a caricature. It's big, vibrant, hectic, like a jungle made out of glass and neon. The look of this bad guy character, the shape of this guy is so exaggerated. They take away the shading on his form for the black suit that he wears. They also do this for some of the other characters as well. This reduces them into simple 2D shapes that work really well as silhouettes. And again, it makes it look a lot more graphic. I like the design of Miles wearing the classic Jordans with the Spider-Man outfit. I think it actually goes really well and distinguishes him as a teenager. It's believable and gives the design more character, and it gives that urban style to this new Spider-Man. Fact number 3. Before the directing duo Phil Lord and Christopher Miller directed Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, they also made Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, the Lego Movie, and they directed 21 Jump Street. Let's have a look at a shot-by-shot breakdown of the trailer to appreciate how well this thing is directed and how beautiful these compositions are. Now we open on this shot, and I love this opening shot because, like I said, in the design aspect of this city is like a caricature. It's multi-layered. There are these lights that kind of separate out the different layers of buildings, flashes of advertisements here and there, and it's all in those kind of neon colors. We've got the chromatic aberration in the background, you can see there. We've got sort of cyan colors coming off, establishing the setting, the location of the whole thing. And we continue with that, we prolong that. We have more shots of buildings, these high-rise skyscrapers. This one's from a really interesting angle. Now we've got like a Dutch tilt going on here. Some really nice glows. In those glows we let all those nice saturated colors come out. And then one more here which gives us a little bit more detail now about the art style, and it looks very New York to me, you know, because you've got the rain on the floor that's reflecting the lights. Yeah, it feels very New York. Now we've got the first shot of the character. Now this shot is brilliant. I think this is amazing. First of all, we've got this train and it's coming towards us. I mean, what a great way to engage us is to actually have a train coming towards us and narrowly going past. We've got depth here now. The camera's positioned in a way where the train is coming out at us. That creates a lot of depth, a lot of three-dimensionality to it. On top of that, the way this is positioned, it creates this really, really pleasing ratio with the composition. And I don't know about you, but that to me feels very pleasing. This nice ratio here and here. So composition-wise, it's excellent, it's really nice. They've put these streaks in manually because in 3D you wouldn't naturally get them, so even now we're starting to see that kind of 2D graphic look that this film has gone for. Even like his positioning in the frame, it's like that same golden perfect ratio with the amount of headspace and everything. More importantly, you know, we are shown this main character here, which we know nothing about. He's on a profile view, so he's looking this way. We've not revealed the identity yet, but it's creating that intrigue because we can't see his face, we can't see his identity. Now we've got a low shot. We know it's the same character because we can see the clothes are the same in a graveyard. Now I think this graveyard has got PP. I don't read into it too much, but I feel like this was, you know, for people who are really clued in, who are really sharp, you know, that could be like Peter Parker or something. So basically here we concealed the identity because it wasn't a good shot to reveal who it was. Because the character's far away, we've got this whole thing with the train going on, it's a better way to just introduce the character gently, right? And then we've got him turned around and we're looking more at the graveyard where he is. But this shot is perfect for introducing the character, because when he turns around, you see how it's right there in our face, there's no mistaking it, face shot. So they did that perfectly. You know, they gave us the curiosity at first, then they satisfied that with an answer. And you know, these eyes are pretty unmistakable. Even though it's like a renewed design, it's still unmistakably the Spider-Man outfit. I really like this introduction to the character. Then here I just absolutely adore this composition here. So we're utilizing the landscape, these vertical lines of the buildings to create a really strong composition here, where we've got this organic shape and it's silhouetted. They've used the lights as well of the city to backlight him, to give him this strong silhouette. And it's a really pleasing shape as well, really pleasing pose. It's great to have that against all these, you know, straight lines. It feels very well designed to me. And we've got our good old friend, the Dutch tilt. So, you know, just taking that image, things that would be straight, and then just putting them on their side instead, so that they're like that. Especially when he's leaning over like this, in this angle, it creates that feeling of vertigo that I love to experience when watching Spider-Man. Just more really strong compositions. You know, we've got like the reflection in the eyes of what he's looking at, which is really cool. This shot is like in slow-mo. It's a really nice detail to have, feels great. And then, oh, this is one of my favorite shots. It just looks amazing, doesn't it? With the light here at the core. So the earth is like, it feels like the earth is really small, feel really high up because the earth is so small. They utilize this sort of wide angle lens for this shot, so it makes all of these vertical lines kind of fan outwards in this sort of explosion of lines and shapes. Really dynamic. I often say that wide angle lenses are great for capturing action, but I'll get into that in a different video. So yeah, this shot is really cool as well. We've got the proximity tension of being really close to this building so we can feel it rush past. This shot is so cool as well. It kind of slows down here. It's like a slow motion shot. And for a moment we can feel what it's like to be upside down. These shots really make you feel like you're there with him, you know, you're experiencing the same things with him by flipping it upside down. It just creates this new landscape that looks different from before. It's interesting as well because, you know, this shape that it creates, the negative space, you know, it's just a different way of looking at things, which is very interesting. There's loads of detail in these windows and everything, and when we have flipped this upside down and we've contained him in this negative space, now you have just a blank gradient to contain this shape, so he really stands out amongst that blank sky. You notice there's no stars in the sky or anything because he's contained within this space. He's separated from the rest of the detail, so he's also right in the center of the frame, so it's impossible to miss him. But just those things don't happen by accident. None of this happens by accident. It's all been thought of. I think this is a really strong composition, this shot. So anyway, I wanted to go through that. There's more to it. There are more shots in there, but those are the ones that I really felt were noteworthy and worth talking about. To conclude all of this, it is clear that this has been made with a lot of heart and a lot of artistic integrity. The innovations in the art style is worthy of praise. Moreover, you can feel that they had fun making this. It doesn't feel like your standard mass-produced Hollywood film that they're just churning out with all the others, sort of plagiarized from themselves. There were people behind this who were really inspired and energized to make something fresh, and I think that totally comes across in the footage. So for all of these reasons, this film has got my thumbs up and I will be watching it this week. Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Check out what arrived in the mail. Yeah, so the Animator Guild hoodie arrived in the mail. My one is has got the special guild on the left arm. That's not on most of them because I just wanted something extra for myself. I got this in extra large size. There's just something about having a big hoodie that is just really comforting and really nice, especially when you're animating, sitting down to work. You can buy one on my Gumroad page. They're still available, linked in the description. So it's a really comfortable hoodie. It looks so cool. Designed it myself. So if you're new to the channel, my name is Wimshurst. I'm a professional freelance animator, artist, director. This channel is all about learning the art of animation. So we deconstruct animations, but we also cover different topics regarding animation, but also just art and storytelling, all the different things that animation is linked to. If that appeals to you, if you're a creative person, if you like to create stories or you like to create animations, artwork, maybe comic strips of your own, then consider subscribing to the channel so that you can watch when new videos like this are released. Thank you so much to the people who are supporting me on Patreon. Because of them, I was able to spend more time researching it and everything. Thank you to the people who have bought hoodies. So yeah, that does it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.